What's up, guys? Today we're taking a look at Shenmue HD 1 and 2. Sega sent these over early so we could take a look at them, and you're going to see a lot of reviews and stuff going up today about this game, reviews, impression, gameplay, everything. And we're going to take a look at it here. We're actually going to take a look at both of them in terms of gameplay and some of the features, and kind of my thoughts on how they've aged now since Shenmue 1, now I think about it, is almost 20 years old. Came out in 1999, back on the Dreamcast, and at the time, it was a tremendously ahead of its time game. It really was. It had the entire clock mechanic where things would happen to a schedule. We kind of had that with with Majora's Mask, where you keep resetting time, but this one is actually even a little more intricate than that. Let me show you some of the settings here first. This is the first Shenmue, and then we'll jump over, like I said, to the second one. The second one I think's aged a little better, but that was also on the original Xbox, had some quality of life improvements, things like that. Let's jump into the options here. So you do have a few things, which include things like you can swap look and run, you can invert the Y-axis, but then they also have, if you get on the graphics, the high-res rendering it's more so suited to your flat screen TV, that it's 1080p or 4K even. That will help with that. And then you also have bloom post effects. Change with the contrast. Aspect ratio can go between 4:3 like the standard, or 16:9 for your widescreen TV. I do have it for this set to 16:9, and I do have high-res rendering on and bloom effects on for both Shenmue 1 and 2. Now, when you download or you put the disc in, it will either install or then download from the store in two different files. So you'll have Shenmue 1 and then Shenmue 2 represented as two different games. They are not like one title and then you go in and you pick one or the other. They've pretty much set it up like that. So let's jump in here to Shenmue 1. We're going to kind of run around here and just see what's going on so you guys get an idea of what the game looks like. We're actually jumping right into it raining. And what they've done here is they've pretty much they've rendered it, I believe, in 1080p. Originally it was like 480p, and then they've moved it up to 1080p for your flat screen TV and everything to try to make it look a bit better. And remember, originally we had this on the Dreamcast, and what I like about this version, by the way, is that if you go in here, you do have your watch, of course. You can look at your watch if you want and see the time. But what was really funny is they left the save as a VMU, and they left the options as a Dreamcast controller. So they do still have that Dreamcast representation, if you will, in this game, which is pretty cool. You got your moves you can look at, because when you're playing, it does turn into almost like a 3D beat-em-up style game when you're fighting against people. And then you have this mode here, which is us kind of running around. We talk to people to learn whereabouts of people we're going to. You have a little book here that will tell you kind of where you are if you forget when you're playing. In this file, as you see, where's Charlie? I'm looking for Charlie. And then you have all different places you can go. For example, here's like a little arcade that they have, a U arcade. And you can kind of come in here and you can play some games if you want. And then you can also talk to people to try to learn more about what your current objective is. And this game is kind of like I don't want to say it's like a detective game necessarily, but you are looking for people and trying to figure things out. This is not a game that, I guess nowadays, games will tell you like exactly where to go all the time, and you can take a look at a walkthrough. But this is a game where you essentially try to find people by talking to people, figure out where to go and everything. You don't have like a little waypoint in front of you. You don't really have a map. You got to look for maps when you're running around here to figure this kind of stuff out. So in this instance, I'm looking for Charlie. I actually went by a clothing store looking for him. And now you're kind of just running around and you talk to people and you try to find him. I mostly wanted to kind of just run around and talk a bit about a few things. There's a few things I don't think have aged very well with Shenmue 1 and even kind of 2, actually, I think about it. The controls definitely have not. The movement controls specifically. They're very almost like, they almost feel like they're almost tank controls, kind of. It's weird. Like, just turning, it feels weird. It just doesn't. One of the worst enemies in this game is like a corner in a building because you'll get stuck. And it's tough to move around for that. So here's a map, for example, there. You are here. It does this weird thing where it kind of zooms in for you. I think most people who have played Shenmue 1 probably remember it well enough to where they would like the game. And really, I kind of look at this collection. It's $29.99. Of course, if you get it on, like, I don't know, Amazon, pre-ordered, maybe you got 20% off. And if you, I guess if you still have that Best Buy Gamers card, I guess you would also get 20% off. So if you're doing that, then it's going to make sense for you, because you probably want to play back through them. Now, I'm more curious about the people in 2018 who buy this game, have never experienced either of them, and kind of play them blind. I'm curious what their thoughts are going to be on this game, mostly because it doesn't really play. It plays like a game from 1999 and 2000. It doesn't really play like games in 2018. That's not to say it's a bad game or anything, but it's definitely not what people are probably used to now. And I would be extremely curious how, I guess, the younger crowd would take this game. But if you are looking at Shenmue 3 and it's kind of on your radar and you're interested in the series, I mean, you can't beat $30 for both, and it looks obviously better than the Dreamcast version, as Sega has pretty much remastered it for TVs nowadays. But it's going to be fun to see what people think of this game. So while we're waiting for it get darker so we can find Charlie, one of the interesting things about the game is you can, like I said, you can go around and you can do other things. And for this, we'll go up here and we'll actually learn a new move from a person, because when you're fighting, you have moves you can kind of pull off, combos, and just buttons you press to do special moves and everything. And throughout the game, you can learn new moves from different people. So at this point in the game, we were kind of killing time. We're actually coming here to the park to learn a new move. So let's see what he has for us here. You can kind of walk around and do all kinds of stuff. There's so many different things you can do in town. And it's almost like how from this, people always talk about games like Yakuza, where that has a lot of minigame stuff. This has a lot of side mission stuff you can do outside of the main game. So let's actually go through here and see what he has for us. So he's actually going to teach us the move just in the middle of the park. So we actually learn it. It actually replaces a move that's not as good. I think this one's maybe a little faster. So he says he used to spar with his father. In the beginning of the game, it's like right away. His father is killed during a martial arts bout with basically the main person you're going after this whole time. So you'll see that right away. If you've never played Shenmue, it's like seriously like the first few minutes of the game. There we go, get a nice little double palm there. Kind of press forward and A and B, or A and X at the same time. It gave me a nice double palm. And that's kind of, you'll learn different moves as you go through and everything, but it just kind of helps with the kind of the action beat 'em up style part of the game, as they have quick time events, and then they have quick time events, and they have like the questing part where we're running around talking to people, and they have kind of the beat 'em up style parts. So there's a lot to this game when it comes to finding people that's part of your next objective, fighting, and then quick time. The quick time events sometimes are kind of out of nowhere. Like, it'll kind of just happen. You'll just be walking down an alleyway, and then it'll be like, left real quick, and you're like, whoa, okay, or A. And something I noticed is that the A and B can kind of blend in a bit. They don't have a good, like, outline around it to kind of, I guess, to kind of differentiate it from the background. I do want to just say, the game itself, this port is actually pretty good. So, if you're looking for a way to revisit Shenmue 1, and maybe you don't want to get a Dreamcast and hook it up and try to run VGA and everything, because if you run AV to your flat screen, it's not going to look as good as this. They did a good job with the port, smoothing it out, making it look good on the TV, kind of mapping it to the analog stick on the controller and everything. You can still use the D-pad if you want, but they did a pretty good job with the analog stick for what that's worth. Able to save, achievements, the whole thing. It's all there and it works well. So with that, let's jump over to Shenmue 2 and kind of run through that one. I actually like Shenmue 2 a bit better than the first one. Alright, so Shenmue 2. It was released in 2001. It was only released in Europe and Japan, and when it came over to the US, instead of coming to the Dreamcast, Microsoft actually picked up exclusivity. I know it's weird, right? Different times back then, and it was only on the original Xbox. So that's how I actually played it back then, was on the original Xbox. This has the same options that we talked about before, where you have your graphics, where you can change high-res rendering, bloom, aspect ratio, all of that. So they do at least have that set up there, and I have us set up in a decent enough spot where we can kind of run around, check everything out, and see how all of that plays. Now, this is a similar setup, but I think it was probably an easier job porting this one only because the one for the Xbox existed. Now, I'm not sure if they built it off of the Xbox version or the Dreamcast version. I feel like they probably went from the Xbox versions because it's probably a bit easier to do that. But let's play a bit of Shenmue II here. Now, you can, as you see there, right bumper, you can just kind of take pictures, kind of whatever you want. You have a filter setting where you can actually do filters. It has the same kind of notebook here, so it has all of that. And we're going to the Yantin Apartments in South Carmine. So we would kind of go around here. We can ask people, hey, how do you get here? So we'll ask her, how do you get to the Yantin Apartments? So she's actually going to just take us there. And when this happens, it goes into this first-person view, which you can also go into first-person view by hitting left trigger. And she'll actually, your person will just, I'm not even doing it. Your person, she'll just lead you there, which is a bit better, I guess, because especially with the second one, the first one, the maps weren't that confusing or anything. The second one, it was a bit different. There's a lot more like twists and turns and everything in the second one for kind of the map and the setup and everything. But they did have some pretty cool quality of life improvements. Like you can buy maps, and they'll show up kind of in the bottom left corner. And like that's all good and everything. Visually, it looks very similar. I think it looks a little better, I think, than the first one on this version. Like obviously on the original Xbox, it looked better. But like if you compare the two, where they put them into HD quality and everything for 1080p, this does look a bit about the same. It's not like drastically better visually. So you see my little map down there. It's not even like the best map either. But finding a different map like one of these up here will kind of tell you where everything is. So if I go up here and you kind of just look at it, you can kind of see everything here. So we want to go left and then down and around, and we'll get to those Yantin Apartments. So let's do that. Yantin Apartments. There we are. So we're going to go in here and we'll actually get a hint from someone. We're going to have to pay them off, but we'll get a hint. And what was kind of neat about this one here, especially early on in the beginning, you'll actually go around and try to get part-time work to get money. So you get like a part-time job and everything. And the part-time jobs are kind of funny. They're basically little mini games. Like in the beginning, you'll do one where you kind of move around crates and stuff, and you'll get paid depending on how many crates you move. So we're going to 205 actually, which I got to move semi-quickly because it's starting to get kind of later. Because I know the temple will close at a certain time, and that would not go well. So let me, for this playthrough part, let me get to 205. We'll bribe the guy, and then we'll go, and we have to pay him some money. I'm gonna give him like 20 bucks. He's not gonna tell us much if you give him 20 bucks, but we got to go to the temple, so it's not a big deal. Jeez. Yeah, pay him. Give him 20 bucks. Yeah, I should have tried the other ones. I don't know if he gives you... I always give him like 20 bucks. I don't know if he gives you more information if you pay him more. He probably does. But yeah, so Man Mao something. We got to go to the temple. Man Mao Temple. All right. So again, we're kind of doing the similar stuff where we're kind of talking around to people and stuff. And you'll run into quick time events where you kind of hit the buttons in the right order and flip people over each other and beat up people and stuff that way. Then you also have, earlier on in this one than the first one, by the way, you have actual beat 'em up events and stuff that take place where you actually fight people in like a bar, for example, or a cafe. And that stuff happens a bit sooner than it did in the first one. So let me look at this little map here if I can flip around here. There we go. The second one does feel a bit more alive than the first one. Something else I would notice. There seems to be more going on in the second one at any time. And it does still have that clock mechanic where things are moving on schedule. Stores will open and close depending on the time. And it all runs along that same sense, which is pretty cool. Like I said, back in 1999 and 2000 and 2001, this was pretty impressive stuff. Playing this on the Dreamcast was like mind-blowing at the time. All right, run. We gotta go up those steps. Temple's up those steps. Yep, Scarlet Hills is absolutely ahead. Come on, go, go, go. I'm trying to remember what time the temple closes. It might be 6. It's 5:46 now. So this is gonna be close. But playing this on the Dreamcast back in the day, not this one, this was on the, I actually remember playing this one specifically on the original Xbox, but the first one, like, that was not a game you rented. If you rented that, you're in trouble, because I remember the first Shenmue was kind of lengthy. Like, it took a bit to beat it. This one was longer even, so you can get some good time. Like, if you sat down and played both of these and spent some good time with them, I could see you getting like at least 50 hours out of this collection without too much issue, if you really want to get into it and really move through it. So here we are now at the temple, and you can see Mao Temple, yes. So we go in here, we'll get a nice little cutscene and everything for what I remember that kind of happens, and we'll continue playing through. But Shenmue II is probably one that a lot of people missed out on because it was on the original Xbox, and you don't usually see these type of games go to the Xbox anymore, especially with exclusivity. Think about that for a minute. It was exclusive to the original Xbox, although the original Xbox was basically the successor to the Dreamcast, just about. So that at least made sense at the time, but looking at it now where Xbox's strategy is, it's not necessarily the case anymore. So what I will do is a bit different here. I'm going to leave you guys with this cutscene so you can get a nice full screen view of it, and we'll kind of end things there, guys. This is the Shenmue HD 1 and 2. I highly recommend it for $30. You cannot go wrong with both of these games. The ports are good across the board. It is technically like a 1080p upscale type thing, but it looks good. This is probably the best looking Shenmue 1 and 2 you're going to get on your TV, on your current gen consoles. So I would check it out, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is out tomorrow, the 21st, so make sure you guys check it out. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
You know Li Xiaotao? Here's my letter of introduction.
Introduction letter. Yao Wen Chen. I've heard the name from Li Xiaotao.
Then?
But this letter will not be enough for you to see the Master.
What?
Do you know the four voodoo?
For voodoo?
I can tell that you know the martial arts. Voodoo is necessary for those who master the art.
I don't know.
If you understand voodoo, then you will have your meeting.
For voodoo.